Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the TLC Podcast. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co host, Mike. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We decided before we went on the air tonight, we are going to finish our list of 100 favorite matches. It means we're going from 20 all the way up to number one tonight.
Here we go.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this list. But before we do, I want to talk about something that I don't feel as excited about. And that's this Saturday, SummerSlam. Like, I'm not excited. Like, they just haven't done a lot to wow me.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I'm kind of feeling. Because I guess we can go over our little standing pool. Pick the winners.
Let's go and do that. Yeah.
I had a 1-point lead going into Great American Bash, but you picked up 5 points, or 3 points. You have a 2-point lead now.
All right. Yeah.
Because you picked Hayes to win. Yep. I picked Dom to win. You picked Tiffany, and then we both picked the family and Roxanne. So
yeah, a nice night. A nice night for me. And
yes,
we'll see if I can carry that momentum into SummerSlam.
Yes, and we have 8 matches for SummerSlam.
So a loaded card. Do you think we're looking at a 4-hour show?
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'd say between 3.5 to 4. I think it'll definitely be over 3 hours.
Yeah.
Whether or not it completes that 4th hour.
Yeah.
And I don't think we go any more than 4.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, going to be a fun Saturday night. I'll actually probably watch on Sunday. I'm going to be down in Maryland visiting my mother this weekend.
Okay.
And so I'll watch on Sunday afternoon when I get home.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Already allotted the time, told my wife, like, look, we're going down there. Sunday I'll need my decompression time, and
right.
Especially after driving 3 hours home.
Yeah, that will be SummerSlam.
Yes.
So should we just get into picking the card?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I just went on our friendly as always Wikipedia site, and here's what they have listed. I'll just go in the order. Cody against Brock is their first match listed.
This has got to be Cody, right? Like,
that's what I'm thinking.
We just had the documentary. Have you watched that yet?
Not yet.
Good. It's a good watch. I enjoyed it. Kind of again had me irritated at the end with Cody not winning.
Right. Yeah.
And he talks about how much he hated it. He hated not winning it.
Well, I mean, I think it was the right time, but
I do too.
But I think we got to wait another year.
Yeah. And look, when he does win, and I do think he will at WrestleMania, it will be right. Like, they'll make the moment the right moment because it's WWE, but like, you can't deny that this past year at WrestleMania would have also been a great moment.
Right. And the fact what Triple H just said about AEW, that really opens it up.
Ooh. And when he basically called it a minor league company,
he did.
He called them the minor leagues, and bro, like, I get it, you're WWE, and like, since you got into this industry, like, that's been your goal to be WWE, but like, you have to understand that wrestling does exist outside of Stamford, Connecticut.
Correct. Yes. It always has. Always
will. Yeah.
But I mean, to call them a minor league,
like, dude, you basically pie-faced now.
Now, granted, and I know people are going to not agree with this, but
sure,
when you look at the distribution, the revenue, all that stuff, WWE is and always will be the dominant company.
Yeah, no, they definitely are.
And yeah, I can almost get him saying that, but do you come out and call your competition that? I don't think there's need for it.
What I've always said is, like, it's okay to imply it. It's not okay to explicitly say it. Like, whenever they say we're the major leagues, yes, you're implying that every other company is the minor leagues.
Right.
But you're not coming out and saying it. Like, if somebody else says it, well, that's your words. We just said we were the big leagues.
Right.
And I think every company should feel like they're the big leagues.
Yeah.
And for you to come out and say, like, for example, we all know, as much as I've really enjoyed the AXW events and their experience, it
Right.
is a minor league promotion, and I think they would even embrace that.
Yes.
Um, but man, like anybody there, like it's not minor leagues to them, man. They're busting their ass. They're trying to get noticed. They're trying to get themselves paid.
Exactly.
Like to me, that's a stooge move. Like
Yeah.
you punked them right there, and that was unnecessary punk. Like to me now, if AEW goes out and has a kick ass all in and then all out in back to back weeks, like one, they will show you that for years we've said whenever WWE's done this back to back weeks, it's like, well, obviously one show's going to suffer,
Right.
and it always has. But if AEW can pull it off, then they can look at you and say, well, we made it work. Why can't
Right.
you?
Exactly. Yep.
So, I mean, they're setting themselves up for what could be an interesting month or so here.
It could very well be.
Especially considering, dude, like we're going to talk about in a second, the SummerSlam card. It's kind of a lackluster card.
It really is. I mean, we already talked about the first match.
Yeah, and this has got to be Cody beats Brock,
It's
right?
got to be. Yeah, this
Yeah.
has to put the Brock feud behind them. And
In fact, I almost hope it doesn't go on last because, like, I'm going to be watching the last match. Basically, my mind already either I already know who won, or I'm going to be pissed off at the result.
right. So
Because and you could tell right there during like the on Monday Night Raw with Cody and Brock, that segment, you can tell Brock said to him, "Okay, I'm going to turn around and you're going to suicide dive, and
right.
then I'm going to catch you and I'm going to leave you laying."
Right.
And you can bet, like, there had to be some kind of discussion over, okay, how's this, like, backstage, how's this interaction going to work out? And I think Brock just kind of said, okay, if I'm putting you over on Saturday, you got to let me get over tonight.
Exactly.
And so I think Cody said,
That's
okay.
usually how they build it up too.
Yeah.
If you are the champion and you beat the challenger
Mm-hmm.
on Monday or Friday, chances are at the PLE you're going to lose the title.
Right.
Right.
And in this case, yeah, I think this is one of those spots where Brock got his pound of flesh on Monday.
And now Cody
Saturday.
takes it on Saturday. Yeah. Now the next match listed, I think, is a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight title.
I've got an interesting take on that. So I think Seth does retain.
Okay.
My thinking is more of whether or not we get a Damian Priest cash in.
That's what I was kind of thinking because they were leaning towards it. But I don't think Priest is the one who cashes in.
Ooh. Okay. Explain.
I think we the match could go either way. Part of me is wondering if Finn wins and then Priest saves the Money in the Bank for him and Dom to cash in on Sami Zayn without Kevin Owens.
That could be interesting.
And then Judgment Day has all the titles.
That could be a heck of a way for them to go off the air too on Saturday.
So I'm going to say Finn's going to win this match.
Okay. I want to say Seth, and my thought process is that I think then we get after Cody beats Brock. I think they try to do this whole Cody's going to go for the world title, and no, here's my thought: we have Cody versus Seth at what is it? Payback is the next one.
Yeah.
And so at that show, like as they're beating the crap out of each other, I thought, I'm like, how do you not have Cody win that, but still come out strong? And I thought, well, Priest could cash in.
Cash in, yes.
And so that's my thought. That's why I'm going with Seth to win Saturday. Yeah.
All righty. Now, the next one is the triple threat for the SmackDown Women's title.
Okay.
Asuka, Bianca, and Charlotte. I
I want to pick Asuka because I don't want another title reign by Charlotte yet,
Right.
and I'm not ready for Bianca to take the belt back. So, I guess this is going to be more of this is what I want. I don't know if it's necessarily what I think is going to, but I'm gonna pick it, and I'll stand by it. I'm gonna go Asuka to retain.
I'm going to go Asuka to retain. I'm also going to go Io cashes in it.
Oh, can we call cash-ins? Is that part of the?
I
feel like that should be a bonus if you get a cash in right.
I think it should be.
Because I was thinking that too. Oh, but now I'd feel like I was just stealing your thunder if I chimed that in.
No,
I won't do that.
No, because I've really been thinking that maybe we're going to get, because we already have that Bailey versus Shotzi feud brewing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what's Io going to do now? So, and then you already have all this heat between Charlotte and Bianca going.
And I would love to just see those two get their own blow-off match, like whether it be on SmackDown or at the Premium Live event.
That's what I'm thinking, that now they can kind of break these 6 women up into feuds.
Mm-hmm.
Io can cash in on Asuka, and then we can have.
I love that actually. Yeah,
we can have this dream match of the 2 Japanese stars we've always wanted to see.
Yes,
in one-on-one matches.
And you know what I love about that scenario? We're not waiting till WrestleMania. We're not waiting till SummerSlam to have the dream matches.
Right.
Like, so I love that. I love that we're getting this big dream matchup probably sometime in September, probably at the Payback.
Yeah, I think that's where they should go with this.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah, so I'll go with you there with the Io cash in.
Okay. The next match that they have listed is the tribal combat match between Roman and Jay.
There are some things that are so big they can only happen at WrestleMania. And I think one of those that has happened has got to be when Roman loses the title.
Yeah, I think so too.
And so Roman's not losing the title at anything but a WrestleMania.
Which
I feel like is why I was so upset when Roman didn't lose it, because I was ready for a new champion.
Right.
And then I looked at it and knew I'm going to go through a whole year now
of this.
Roman's still the champion. Yeah.
It's awful. Next match might be the dark horse of the night. Ricochet against Logan Paul.
Oh, I absolutely think this match could steal the show.
I'm really thinking it can. And it's kind of like, do they let Logan win a match? A single.
If you're going to, this would be it, right?
This would be it, yeah. Because it wouldn't hurt Ricochet as much.
No, it wouldn't hurt him necessarily, but a win would certainly help him.
Right. So that's where I'm just like, ooh, this is a tough one.
Right. And I feel like that's got to be a debate, not only in the office, but between the boys. Like, I'm sure Logan Paul is sitting there saying, like, look, guys, yeah, I'm a YouTube sensation and it'd be great to win, but you can put me in a match with anybody and it's box office right away.
Right.
So why not let Ricochet have the moment, and then that just lifts his appeal? Because right now I feel like WWE has a lot of guys who are kind of stuck in that middle of the card.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
And Ricochet's in that like bottom middle area.
Yeah, he's kind of like, okay, we'll put him in the Rumble, we'll put him in Money in the Bank.
Right.
He can produce
He's a spot guy. Yeah.
He produces the spots. But other than that, like, I don't see much of them using him. So maybe this is the time with Triple H doing more creative work. Maybe he gets his NXT boys over a little bit more.
I could certainly see that. And maybe stemming off of this, you maybe give him, a shot at Gunther.
Right.
In the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
Which I would enjoy one more time, Ricochet and Gunther.
Yeah, me too.
And I feel like it's been long enough now. since Gunther took the title from Ricochet. And I think it would be a great time. And I know we'll get into that matchup too. Gunther's match for the
That's
Intercontinental
next,
title.
yeah, on the list.
Yeah. But I certainly would love that as we get like right around the record.
Right.
I would love to see Gunther Ricochet one more time. It's like, okay, the guy who Gunther beat for the title, he now has to beat again in order to break the record.
Yeah. Which would make sense.
Yeah. So I'll go Ricochet to beat Logan Paul.
And I will go Ricochet as well.
Okay.
And the next match, Gunther against Drew.
You know I love Drew McIntyre. Nobody was more upset than me when he lost to Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Was that 37?
37.
Yeah. And I thought, man, he deserved that. I called it the WrestleMania redo.
Yeah.
I thought he deserved that moment of walking out as champion. And I thought that was what they were setting up for.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
It just seemed, I don't want to say predictable, but it just seemed like the smart pick.
Yeah.
And then they swerved us at the start. And I talked myself into being okay with it by being like, well, you know what? They can always just put the belt back on him when they finally go full capacity.
And they didn't.
And I was really surprised by it.
Right.
So but that being said, I'm going to go Gunther to retain.
I'm going to go Gunther too. I think he's going to get the record.
Yes. And this has got to be, I guess, the biggest challenge to getting the record, right?
Well, he's had the Clash at the Castle masterpiece with Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was the triple threat. But yeah, now it's time.
I'm saying, like, okay, this is the last big challenge before.
Yeah, this is probably the last big challenge.
Yeah.
The last hurdle. So.
Yeah, so if he survives Saturday, I think he gets the record. And I really want it for him. I think he deserves it.
I think he does.
And God, he'll be so much better in that record holder spot than the Honky Tonk Man. And I like Honky Tonk. He was a great character.
Right.
But as far as his in-ring work, just doesn't hold up to what Gunther can do.
He doesn't hold up to like the past Intercontinental champions either.
Yeah.
Like, because he won it from Steamboat because Steamboat wanted to take time off
Right.
because of the birth of his son. And you went from Steamboat, Savage, Santana, Valentine, that lineage backward.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Santana again, Morocco, Morales, all the way to Patara and DiBiase. Well, Patara
Right.
and Patterson. Like, Honky didn't fit into that category.
No, and I always liked it that made it like he was different.
Yeah.
And I dug that. But I feel like, man, when you start talking, and I feel like they gave him the record because they wanted him to stand out. They wanted it to feel like he belonged in the conversation.
Yeah, they
those
did.
other guys.
Yeah.
And man, time has shown that he doesn't belong in that conversation.
No.
And like I've talked myself into other guys being better Intercontinental champions, guys like Chris Jericho. And guys like The Miz, who I think was a fantastic Intercontinental champion.
Yeah, with all the title reigns he's had.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's just kind of like Honky Tonk Man with the record for the longest. I think it's time.
It's time to let that one die.
Yeah. Next up is the MMA Now match between Ronda and Shayna.
Boy, I want to pull for Shayna because I understand. I think I see her side of the argument,
right,
more than Ronda's, and
it's just
don't care.
That's how I feel. I feel like this match is just kind of there.
And it's like, like if they were just going to say, hey, we want to put together a dream match. Like if you don't have the turn, okay, and like say they retain the tag titles. And afterwards, Shayna comes out and just says to Ronda, I want to challenge you to a match at SummerSlam.
That would have worked for me.
I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Like it actually probably would have been a way to make them both established baby faces because they were both kind of like they were heels, but like it kind of irritated you because you knew like they could back up everything they said,
Yeah.
and and part of the appeal of hating the bad guys is knowing, oh, in a fair fight, the good guys could win, and it's like when you
Exactly.
look at it, and it's like, nah, bro, they really can't. Like,
No one's going to beat a tag team of Ronda and Shayna in the WWE.
no, again, and I think that's kind of what they were thinking. Like, how do we sell that to anybody to make them believe that this team actually loses?
Right. And I
And
guess
so that's why you have them turn on each other.
that's the only way they could have. So,
But to me, I would think a better story would have been like, oh, okay, they have this healthy competition at SummerSlam,
right.
and then it turns sideways in their first title defense, like, a couple weeks later, where it's like, oh, well, clearly not everything was settled at SummerSlam.
Exactly.
And I think that would have been a better way to do that.
I think so, too. So,
Okay, I guess I'll go Shayna.
all right. I don't know.
You want to just take Ronda to be different?
That's what I'm going to do. Just
Okay.
a little bit different. I mean, I think I'll just take Ronda because it's one of those, like, I like them both as individuals, but this feud's not good.
No. And I'll tell you what, though, the only thing that makes me think that maybe Ronda would be, like, I'm picking, I guess we're both picking Ricochet in the
Right.
Logan Paul. Are we going to have both of the celebrity one lose?
Right.
I could see them going 1-1 and saying, okay, Ricochet beats Logan Paul, Ronda beats Shayna.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do.
I would love it if they positioned it as a real shoot fight and just said, hey, we'll give you guys extra time. If they'd given them extra time to get ready and then said,
Right.
hey, look, prepare. It's a shoot fight. Like, you guys are going to go out there and really have your competition match.
Right. Yeah, because I'm wondering if it's going to be an MMA match or if it's just going to be a WWE.
WWE MMA fight, yeah.
Right, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, like the fight pit.
Yes.
Which was actually pretty awesome. I actually like the fight pit.
Yeah, that does work. And then the last match is the Battle Royal.
I don't care.
And it's one of those things where it's 5 days from the event?
Yeah.
4 days? They only have 6 men listed. They've only
Well,
announced 6
I will say one of those 6 will win.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I really think that they have to listen to the fans. I think LA
Knight. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that's what they have to do. So,
I agree with you. I think LA Knight wins it.
yeah. All right. So we got our picks for this really lackluster SummerSlam.
Yeah.
To be the second biggest card of the year.
To me, like, if you're ranking the pay-per-views this year, like, obviously WrestleMania is number 1, and it's always number 1. Royal Rumble has to be considered number 2 this year, anyway.
For sure.
Because I would say it's between Royal Rumble and SummerSlam as far as which one's 2.
Wait. We don't know what's going to happen in Survivor Series, though.
Yeah, I feel safe in saying Survivor Series is number 4.
You never know. They might switch it up this year and surprise us.
They might. I saw an interesting idea of the new look Hurt Business, which would include Bobby Lashley, Omos, Cedric Alexander, Sheldon Benjamin, and the Street Profits.
That would be interesting. I did see a graphic of that.
Yeah.
But
it's a pretty loaded group.
It's loaded, but do you put Benjamin and Alexander back in?
I don't think you should.
Because
you have your tag team. with the
in
Street
with the
Profits.
Street Profits.
You have your Muscle Man Enforcer with
Omos.
Omos. You have the leader of the group in Lashley. To me, does MVP even make an appearance in this group?
I think he does.
I think he should, and I think he should be the mouthpiece.
I think you need a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And then what I would do would be bring Trick Mello up.
Oh, I think that'd be fantastic.
Instead
Did you watch NXT yet?
I have watched it.
Okay.
And again, Trick and Dragunov put on a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah.
It was a great match. But it's just kind of like I would rather see those two come up.
Yeah, I agree. They both belong on the main roster.
They're main roster talent.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But we shall see.
Yeah, we shall. I would love Carmelo in that role.
Yeah. So I guess they would be on the blue brand.
I would assume so. Although what I would love to see is then Survivor Series, Hurt Business versus Judgment Day, and Judgment Day maybe gets like I don't know, like the Viking Raiders or maybe like the Creed brothers or something join.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be good.
Because if it's the Viking Raiders, I think it's just like a one-off that they join for the one night.
Right.
If it's the Creed brothers, I could see them actually being a part of Judgment Day.
I could, like the new recruits.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would enjoy that. And I would love that War Games match at Survivor Series.
I would too.
Those five against each with 5-on-5 match.
5-on-5, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. We still got SummerSlam, Payback, Fastlane.
Yeah, long way to go before we get to that one.
And then we got that special show. I hope they put it on the Peacock and the network. That show in India. That show in India. Because they did that when we were in lockdown, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
A show geared for India, and Jinder was on it, featured. Indashir's featured. I really like that. It was something different. I hope they put it on. And I think they will, considering.
Yeah, I would think they'd have to. That'd be a great show.
And I think it's going to be a good show. And it's going to give a different flavor, a different atmosphere for the fans, too. Seeing a new international crowd, because we really haven't seen much of the India crowd interactions, because the last show, of course, was when everyone was locked up with COVID. So
sure,
I'm going to see that.
Yeah, I would love to see them do that and really, put together a strong pay-per-view style show for them.
Yeah, and I think they will.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think, September 8th.
Yeah, I think,
Which is going to be a week after Payback.
Well, to me, it would make sense. Like you can put something together on Raw. You can just say, okay, we're going to have these matches, and just announce them, and just say these are the matches, and you can even announce them at Payback, like
right. Or you can even announce it before Payback.
Yeah,
and I think that's what AEW might do is say, okay, and that's what I would do in this situation too. You have a big enough roster. You have one pool. Split it up. Half your guys wrestle All In. Next week, All Out. The other half wrestle. Give the two shows completely different feels.
And what did you think about Punk mentioning All In as a spot where maybe he could wrestle, just to announce that he's going to face Ricky Starks this Saturday? But
it was kind of weird. I think they should have saved that match, but it's okay to put them on Collision. Because you're
putting them on Collision up against SummerSlam.
Right. And that's the thing. These collisions are going to have to be stacked the weekend against the PLEs.
Either that, or I think they should just embrace we're not on that level to compete against them, and maybe go on 6 to 7. Just say it's a 1 hour special Saturday night Collision.
Right.
They
Or
won't do it, but
they're not going to do it. And this is another thing. Everyone's talking about the all in, all out within a week apart.
mm-hmm.
Not only do you have all in on a Sunday, then you have to do Dynamite on Wednesday, Rampage on Friday, Collision on Saturday, all out the next day.
That's going to be a rough week, and that's going to be rough for your talent. Like, these guys, that's a lot of exposure, and I think there could be a lot of guys that are overexposed that week.
And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we shall see.
And, I mean, we already talk about how we feel that wrestling is kind of oversaturated the market.
Yeah.
And, these next few weeks are really going to show what I think we've been saying, that there's just too much right now, and it's hard to keep up. And
it is.
Like right now, we're 30 some odd minutes into the show, 35 minutes, and we haven't really even talked about any of AEW.
Yeah.
We have, God forbid, we ever mentioned Impact Wrestling, which has been absolutely off the charts. Again, my boy Josh Alexander back in action.
Yes.
And I am looking forward to, what's that one called? Is it Emergence?
I think it might be the next one, yeah.
Okay. So I know that's the next planned event for him to, supposedly he's going to challenge for the AEW champion, or AEW, the Impact World title.
Right. And then with the multiverse of matches.
That's going to be fun, too. That's going to be in Philly.
Yes. Does Impact really roll the dice on this? Do they put their world title on Tanahashi in Philadelphia?
Ooh, man, that would be something.
It'll be interesting.
I would actually love it if they did that, because they've shown they're not afraid to put their belt on an outsider and let them go around and wrestle with it around the world.
Exactly.
They let Kenny Omega do it.
They let Omega do it. Christian did it.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic.
Yes.
All right. Do we want to go ahead and well, before we get into our final 20 matches, I guess we should talk about the tag team title match from Saturday night at Collision between FTR and versus MJF and Adam Cole, baby.
That was a great match.
It really was.
Again, FTR does not disappoint.
7-star FTR, man.
They are just unbelievable. I mean,
I know they were your tag team of the year last year. To me, if we gave out half-year awards, they'd have to be tag team of the half year.
Spoiler alert, I think they're going to win this year, the way it's going.
I think it'll be a clean sweep for FTR this year. It'd be hard for me to argue against them.
I really think they're going to be the best team again.
I mean, honestly, who would you put as their competition right now? Sammy and Kevin, all right. They've had a great run as tag team champions, but what have they really done other than a great match against the Usos?
And then they had that against Solo and Roman, that match.
Okay.
That began the implosion of the bloodline.
Which, again, great matchup, but, to me, the WrestleMania match was the better match.
Right, exactly. And really, for how they won those titles and going through that whole bloodline, I've been disappointed in their run.
I have too. I feel like they haven't been booked very strong. They haven't been, the Kevin and Sammy, Kevin always wanting to fight everybody and Sammy being the voice of reason. It's entertaining, but I guess the fans that had the groundswell to want Kevin and Sammy to be the tag team and to be the tag team champions, they weren't interested in just entertaining. They wanted to see them be more like FTR.
Yeah.
And be that dominant tag team out there putting on 5, 6, and 7-star matches.
And we haven't been able to get that. And now with Kevin injured, it's what are they going to do?
And And I like your idea about Damian Priest cashing in and winning the tag titles, but I I hope that they don't do that because I feel like they'd be pulling the plug on a tag team that, if you give them the real chance, can be that dominant force for tag team wrestling.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I just feel
But
like,
I am worried that they'll do that. That they'll say, you know what, this not working, not drawing, so we're going to pull the plug on it.
and see, I thought they were going to split the tag team titles up.
I did too.
On brand split, and they've kind of kept them together because they kept on alluding, like when the Usos had both titles for a little bit, they were defending just the Raw title,
right? Just the Raw on Raw, and just
SmackDown. I thought they were going to split them up, and maybe when Kevin and Sammy got drafted to Raw, I thought they were going to do a new tag team title for SmackDown.
Yeah, I thought they were going to maybe just have them drop the SmackDown tag titles and then say, okay, we're going to announce a tag team tournament or like a fatal 4-way or what have you.
Yeah, and they didn't.
I mean, like, what I haven't been able to stand, and this is why, I feel like every week I have this moment where I talk about how I can't stand the brand split. But one thing I will say is, if you're going to do it right. Like, completely separate. I like the separate shows idea. I liked having separate pay-per-views and then just bring them together for the big four.
Exactly. That's what I like.
Yeah. Like, I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, that was fine. And even when they had their separate pay-per-views, too.
Yes.
I
loved the separate pay-per-views.
Because that really got everyone more exposure, too.
And it made me more interested in each brand. Like,
it did.
When I would watch, a SmackDown only pay-per-view, like all of a sudden it got me excited for like that week's SmackDown, like the week before the pay-per-view, the night or the 2 nights before. And then the week after, I was excited to watch the fallout from that pay-per-view. Now,
it really added more.
When they're co-branded, I'm excited for the fallout on Monday. Usually by the time I get to Friday, I forget that there even is fallout from the pay-per-view.
Yeah, because it's the next night. It's like,
right.
We go. Yeah.
So and how about before we get into our list, I just want to, one last thing before we get into our list. I want to talk about the Trish and Becky Lynch. They're gonna have they had their brief little, I guess you could call it a match on Monday, where that was supposedly the rule. If Becky won against
Trish,
no, against the other one,
Zoe, yeah.
If Trish beat Zoe or Becky beat Zoe, then Becky gets Trish.
Right.
And I thought for sure that meant SummerSlam, but apparently now they're doing it on Raw in Winnipeg on August the 14th.
Yes.
We know how big a town Winnipeg is and how great the wonderful wrestling tradition of great matches in Winnipeg.
You know what I'm kind of thinking? I'm kind of thinking they want this to be like the end of the feud.
Okay.
And it's like, where do they go from here? Both of them.
Well, Trish could ride off into the sunset and be retired again.
Correct.
Becky could go back to challenging for the world title, women's world title.
Correct. So what I'm thinking is the reason why they did it in Canada is to get Trish over as the baby face. Because she is Canadian. She'll get the home country pop. And then you try to spin Becky off as a heel again. And then try to have Becky go after Rhea, because even though Rhea is a heel in Judgment Day, she's really the most over woman.
Yeah, she gets the most positive reactions of anybody.
So it's like, is that what they're going to do? Because that to me is the next logical step for Becky. Because Liv's out. Raquel, we don't know what they're doing with her.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna get Raquel again. I would assume the plan had been that we were gonna get Raquel versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam,
Right.
but with Raquel being injured, like they just couldn't do it.
Yeah. So.
Which I think is the real reason for the squash match and the tag match.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Is the Raquel injury.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's get into our list.
All righty.
For anybody who's been following along, this has been quite the journey.
It has been.
It started 100 matches, our 100 favorite matches.
Correct.
It doesn't necessarily mean just the best matches. And yeah, that's been something that I've said a lot. However, I do think that there will be a lot of intersection. Like if we did a 100 greatest matches, I do think that, a lot of the ones on our favorites list would show up again in the greatest list.
I think so too.
So tonight we're going to finish it off. It is, this is going to be fun. We're going 20 through 1.
Here we go.
And so, good sir, match number 20 on your list.
Match number 20. Ric Flair versus Kerry Von Erich at the David Von Erich Memorial Show, when Kerry finally wins the NWA World Title for 2 weeks.
Very nice. Yeah.
Huh.
Very nice. I agree with that one basically entirely. So this is one of, I have 3. I think I said I had 3 ECW matches on my list.
Okay.
And all 3 are going to be coming out tonight.
Okay.
And so it starts off with number 20. And again, like this, I guess this is going to show my my bias towards ECW, the brand. Number 20 for me is Tommy Dreamer, RVD, November to Remember, 1997.
Okay.
I think what I loved most about that match wasn't even really the match. It was Tommy Dreamer's coming in. He's got a broken ankle, and he signed a waiver. And they made the big deal in WWE about Steve Austin signing the waiver for his neck.
Yes.
And Joey Styles, Tommy just walked in and signed it. Didn't make a big production about it. Just walked in and signed it.
Yep.
And again, a lot of this is I know this is a work, these guys are working here, but when Joey Styles says, I think Tommy Dreamer would die for ECW. I don't think he was lying. I don't think that was a work. I think that was true.
I think it was.
But I also think so would RVD.
Right.
And
I think
we'll learn that later on, but it was,
Yeah.
What a matchup. Highly emotional. And to 17-year-old me, this was the biggest match of the night.
Yes. Yes. It was fantastic. I do remember it well. Yeah.
All right. Number 19 for you.
Number 19 is Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton. The Miracle in New Orleans, WrestleMania 30.
The Miracle on Bourbon Street. I love it. Yeah.
I think just the way Daniel Bryan was everyone's hero in that pay-per-view, and the fans pushed for it, and finally they listened and they said, we got to put this guy in, and it was amazing.
And throughout the night, man, there were so many points where, again, we know it's a work, but there were so many points where I thought, are they really going to take this from us? Did they really tease us and bring us this close just to take it away?
Yeah, like that Triple H match, you're sitting there because the winner made it.
The winner gets the shot into the triple threat. And I thought, man, if the triple threat is...
This is an Evolution triple threat, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I was just like... My wife says to me, she's like, "Well, what are you going to do if Triple H wins and goes on to the main event?" I said, "I might turn it off at the main event." Right. I said, "When it gets to the main event, I might just turn it off."
Right.
Okay, my number 19 was Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. 2 out of 3 falls for the IWGP Championship. And I want to say it was 2018. Was it Dominion or?
They had 2018. They had a trilogy of matches.
Yeah.
So,
but the one I decided to isolate was their 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah.
Okay. And that was a great one.
Yeah.
All 3 of them were great.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear a little bit more about that later on in this countdown. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed all 3 of those matches.
Yes. All right. So number 18 for you.
Speaking of the devil, Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 10.
Oh.
That was just the 2 biggest stars at the time in Japan going at it. Their biggest event. It was everything just lined up. And
it was like all the stars aligned. It's funny because I haven't watched that match.
Okay.
And it's definitely on my list of matches I want to watch.
Yeah.
I've decided to compile another list because I like lists and of matches that I want to watch that I haven't watched yet.
Okay.
And so that's one. Yeah.
One. Very nice.
Okay, so my 18, again, I guess this is going to show me marking out for ECW. Tommy Dreamer versus Raven, WrestlePalooza 97, I think it was. It had to be 97. I think it was WrestlePalooza.
I think so, yes.
It was the time Tommy finally beat him.
Yes.
Tommy had to be talked into it because he wanted to just lose that one too.
Yeah,
it'd be a great swerve to the crowd.
He didn't want to beat Raven.
And he thought, dude, if I just go my whole career and never beat Raven. And Raven had to talk him into it. Raven's and at one point you hear, like, in this one documentary I saw where Tommy just kind of jokes and goes, he's like, man, like nobody's ever tried to talk me into winning so much.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just a great match. And I love like the beginning when one of his little stooges comes out and says, dude, just go. Like you're leaving, just go.
Exactly.
And it was great because it was supposed to headline the second pay-per-view, Hardcore Heaven.
Yeah.
But so they went with it at WrestlePalooza. It was a fantastic match. Really kind of a hidden gem, one you have to really search for on the network to find it.
You do. That you do. But definitely worth the watch.
Definitely worth the work. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, 17.
17. We call him Gunther now, but Walter.
Yeah.
Versus Tyler Bate at NXT Cardiff.
Oh, yes.
I remember, I think I was working that day, and Tony Storm was wrestling Rhea. I had to get home to watch it. And then I'm just like, I think this main event's going to be good. Little did I realize the masterpiece that those two are going to put on.
Yeah.
The 40-some minute and it only seemed like when you're sitting there watching it, it only seemed like 10, 15 minutes.
Right, because it was big shot after big shot. It
was just like, that was really 40 minutes? Wow.
It was one of those matches that at the end of it, like you look at the time and you're just like, oh wow, like that much time has gone by?
Yeah.
I agree with you. That was an incredible match.
Yes.
So my number 17, and I feel like, man, I'm saying this a lot tonight, but another ECW match. Shane Douglas versus Taz Living Dangerously 99 for the ECW Championship. The night Taz won the belt.
Okay.
I was a huge Taz fan.
Yes.
Taz was my guy. Loved it when he won the title. Was completely shocked when he dropped the belt and then left to WWE. Although, like, looking back, I'm happy that he did, and everything worked out the way it was supposed to.
It definitely did. I mean, granted, his WWE run was lackluster.
Yes.
but he had that magic run in ECW. I think WWE could have used him a lot better, but I think with
I will
Vince,
say I know injuries caught up to him,
yeah,
and I think that may have contributed to the lackluster run in WWE. And so
yeah,
that's why I'm glad he jumped when he did, because had he tried to continue to work in ECW and basically stepped down for being that killer in ECW,
yeah,
I think that would have hurt more than him. Because now we can each sit here and just blame WWE for killing Taz.
exactly.
All right. Next up, number 16. Wow.
Number 16, again, Wrestle Kingdom 10. Must have been a good night.
I feel like it was.
It definitely was. AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna have to check out Wrestle Kingdom 10.
Yeah. And see, the nice thing was, even at that point, they were on Access. So they would show it
Yeah, like a month later.
a
Yeah.
month later, but you can either watch it on New Japan World or watch it on Access.
Yeah.
And again, just a stellar match. I believe it was for the Intercontinental title. And just that's the match I wish they would have been able to do at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I know lots of people talked about that, and that was another matchup that I had thought about. Man, I'd like to watch that one because so many people freaked out during their WrestleMania match. I enjoyed their match. It was the aftermath that I thought sucked,
Yeah.
and I had a guy who told me, he said, "Man, if you enjoyed that match, he's like, you should go back and watch Wrestle Kingdom. He's like, it will change your life."
It will.
And
It was
so,
a
yeah, that's
magnificent match.
okay. Well, my number 15, definitely, or no, we're number 16. I'm sorry, was another match that kind of, you know, one of those that, man, just changed the way I watch wrestling. Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21.
Very
Like,
nice.
oh, that match!
That match was phenomenal.
Wow. Like, and I knew I was a fan of both guys. And I remember thinking, I'm like, oh wow, they're going to put that feud together. Like I saw that at the Royal Rumble, and I thought, well, that'll be good. I like that idea.
Because
I
they were
did
both
not
on different
realize.
shows.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were both on different shows at the time.
Right.
And it was kind of like it was going to be that crossover match that we get at Mania.
Yeah, and they had a couple of those at that Mania, and again, this was one of those examples of, okay, if you're gonna have the two separate brands, do it right, and you can only cross over once a year.
Yep.
And it be at WrestleMania. And
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's number 16. All right, 15.
15. Jerry Lawler against Kerry Von Erich at Super Clash 3. The title unification match. That was just...
Yeah, didn't Jerry won that one, right?
Yes, they had to call it because of excessive bleeding from Kerry.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those matches you don't even know, but Jerry has said this many times. Kerry was in a bad place that night.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see the greatness of Lawler carry that match, and even Kerry in a bad place, wrestled a phenomenal match to someone who wouldn't know
Right.
at that time. And
Yeah.
the internet all broke and would ruin things like the Jeff Hardy fiasco at Victory Road that one year.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that was brutal.
that it was.
All right. My number 15, Edge Cactus Jack, WrestleMania 22.
Very nice. The flaming table.
Yes.
Yes, that spot. Mick Foley's WrestleMania moment, finally.
Yeah, he finally got his WrestleMania moment, and me as a big Mick Foley fan, as you guys will see later on in this list.
I think I know a couple coming up.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
But yeah, that was number 15 on the list. All right, 14.
14's a two-parter for me.
Okay.
WrestleMania 10, SummerSlam 94. Brother versus brother, Brett versus Owen.
Okay.
I,
Nice.
I kind of had to lump them together because they were such an intriguing story at that point.
Yeah.
And me being a 13, almost 14-year-old by SummerSlam,
Mm-hmm.
and having the older brother, it was my brother is 14 and a half years older than me. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like seeing the younger brother go after the older, even though Owen was the heel and Brett was the over baby face. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool seeing that aspect of it.
Yeah. And it's funny, like so many I feel like this was like one of those few times where I had a lot of people like on my side of rooting for the heels.
I think you did.
Yeah,
I think
because
you
there were a
did.
lot of people I think that identified with that. The younger brother's been held down his whole life, and
Right.
even though he comes across like a bad guy, he's just misunderstood
Right.
because he's frustrated by his older brother.
Exactly. And that was the one thing, like, as the younger brother, I was kind of rooting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, having a brother, I'm like, my brother and I would never fight or do anything like that. But it's kind of fun to imagine that aspect.
Sure.
Like, can you imagine we were both wrestlers and main eventing a major pay-per-view together? How
Right.
that would be? Like, that's how I was thinking the whole thing through.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it too. And it's like, that was one of those things where the two of them, like, because Brett basically picked Owen as the guy that they would do that story with because they wanted to do it with Bruce.
Right.
And Brett was like, "Well, why not do it with Owen? You can actually do something with Owen. Owen's here all the time. Like,
Right. Yeah.
this
Because,
would just be like a one-off if we did it at WrestleMania with me and Bruce."
right.
And they were able to tell this great story throughout both the shows.
And it just brought so much into it. And then to see him finally reunite when Brett turned heel and have the Hart Foundation back together,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
And it's so funny because, like, in that one time, like, he starts talking to Owen and, like, they have that moment and like, Owen finally breaks down into tears and, like, they come together. And it's like, I still remember thinking, I'm like, wait, that's all it would have taken the whole time?
All it would have taken.
Okay, so what are we at?
14.
14
yes.
is, and I can't believe, like, when I was putting together the list, I was like, I can't believe this match goes this far down. Is Austin and The Rock at WrestleMania 17. I
Yeah.
felt like I had to isolate that one because that's the best one.
Yes, that's how. I think I had it last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's kind of surprising how it slips down.
Right, because it's always like, as I'm looking through the rest of the list, I'm like, wait, like, even tonight as I looked at it, I'm like, wait, how's that there? And I started looking, I'm like, well, I don't want to put it there, and I certainly wouldn't put it ahead of that one or this one. Like,
It really is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
It's such an iconic moment in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And that
It kind
everyone
of marked the end of the Attitude Era.
kind of, yeah. And it's such a era everyone talks about with such great esteem, and here we go.
Yeah, so fitting send off. All right, 13.
13. I know this match was on your list towards the beginning. It has that luster to me. I know we talked about it with you. It's Steamboat Savage, WrestleMania 3. Still has that luster. I still think it's the best match on that card, even though
definitely best match on that card. Yeah.
Hogan Andre has the hype and brought the fans in. I think those two stole the show. And with the shenanigans of George the Animal Steel adding to it.
And so many of the guys who became wrestlers, like, from our generation, like, they would look at that match and say that's what made them want to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great call on that. All right, my number 13 is Triple H versus Stone Cold 3 Stages of Hell from No Way Out 2001.
Very nice.
Yeah, I like that match. Like, made me lose my shit. Like, I loved that match. Like, I was a big Triple H fan.
Right.
And I liked the bad guys.
Exactly.
So, and he was the baddest of the bad guys. and he's in there against Stone Cold. I loved that match, and I love that it was just like based off of they both hit each other, and Triple H just fell the right way, and that's how he lands on top and gets the win. So it's like Triple H wins, but Stone Cold doesn't lose any momentum.
Simple and complex, and very easy.
Yeah,
Like the Morocco Snuka steel cage match. I think I talked about.
Yeah.
Just the headbutt out of the ring, and Morocco slips out and wins.
Yeah, and I thought that was perfectly done too. Just like when James Storm and Bobby Roode at the lockdown.
Yep.
When Storm gives the last call super kick and kicks Roode outside of the ring, and that's how Roode wins and retains his championship.
Yeah. Such a great way to end the match, and it gives the fans that feeling of, wait a minute, our babyface hero won, but on a technicality, the heel wins.
Yeah, and again,
leave you
fan. Love that.
Wanting the babyface to get the comeuppance finally.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, number 12.
Number 12. The trilogy of FTR against the Briscoe brothers from last year.
Another match that I put on my list much earlier, but great call. Yeah,
just love those three matches. You're going to see a couple trilogies pop up now.
Yeah,
on my list.
Well, it's funny because I got a chance to watch Final Battle, their dog collar match. I guess a few months ago when I first got Honor Club. And I remember when I watched that, I think I made a message you and said, "Oh my God, I just watched FDR and the Briscoes, the dog collar match. What did I just see?"
Yeah.
That was incredible.
It was.
Like, I'm just watching that. I'm like, wait, and this match doesn't close the show?
No.
Like, how the hell does anybody follow that? Like,
I really didn't know what they were thinking not putting that on last.
Yeah, that match should have definitely gone on last. Great call on that match. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was and especially the way they ended that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Jericho tapping out to the giant swing.
Yeah, that was dumb.
It was just like such a letdown.
Yeah.
They should have just put that flip-flop those two matches, and people would have been.
I was gonna say if you put Jericho and Claudio in the middle of the card, I probably don't care as much about the Jericho tapping out to the swing. In fact, I could probably almost justify it.
Yeah. And if you look at it, because Claudio has been involved in the Ring of Honor World Title picture for pretty much the whole year now.
Mm-hmm.
Not many of the pay-per-views are headlined by him.
No.
Because even Death Before Dishonor was the women's match.
Athena versus Willow.
Yeah.
Nightingale. Yeah. And they belonged in that spot.
They did. And I think when Jonathan Gresham was the world champion, they put him on first and had him drop the title out. Time. Yeah. And Joe, I think that was Joe against Jay Lethal for the TV title. That was the main event.
I like that Ring of Honor does a lot more like the undercard titles in the main event.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So my number 12 is Cactus Jack Triple H Royal Rumble 2000.
Very
nice. Yeah, that match was so awesome.
It really was.
Two of my favorites. Yeah.
And just knocked the dog poop out of each other for that.
And like I love the fact that basically Vince McMahon told them, no, you can't bleed in that match. And dude, they poured buckets.
They did.
They painted Madison Square Garden red that night.
They really did on that one.
Yeah. Yes. All right, number 11.
It's got to be something with me and dog collars. That they're.
Well, Piper, you're a big dog guy, so.
Yeah, I have three. Piper, Valentine, Starrcade 83.
Fantastic match. You know I approve of that one.
Yes. I know you spoke about it earlier in the countdown as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just love, and that's not the last time I mentioned Starrcade 83 on this episode.
No. In fact, I know both of us are going to be mentioning a lot of Starrcade matches coming up.
I think so.
My number 11, I know, will be part of one of your top one or two or three matches, is Flair and Steamboat from the Chi-Town Rumble.
Yes.
Really, I guess I could have just said the whole trilogy from 89, and maybe
Yeah.
I'll just edit it to say, yeah, trilogy from 89.
Yeah. I mean,
Because it was just unbelievable, that whole trilogy.
there's nothing finer than that trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 10. We are in the top 10, guys.
We are in the top 10. Well, I will lead the top 10 off with those same two gentlemen we just spoke about from Spring Stampede 94, the Flair Steamboat.
Nice.
Which is kind of like the standalone because it was 5 years later, but
yeah,
just you can't get any better than those two in the ring.
And it's so funny because you got to know that basically WCW was looking at it after Flair was done with Vader and said, "Well, what do we do? Let's just go fail safe, Flair and Steamboat. Just go out there and I would love to have be a fly on the wall when Flair and Steamboat are in there with whoever the producer match is, and he just goes, guys, just go out there and do that thing where you just tear the house down and everybody stands in awe."
I really don't think they even, especially then, I don't think there's producers really heavily involved in matches yet.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you have those two guys,
that's got to be stealing money, man.
It's like, how do you produce that match? You just go out there and say, do what you two have been doing for 20 years. Just go have
that thing that's fail safe, that's not broken. Don't try and fix it. Just keep doing that. Yeah,
just keep doing it. Just keep doing it.
Well, my number 10, I know you mentioned it last week. When the match has its own name, you know it's special. And when it basically starts a defining era for a now defunct company, the night the line was crossed, Shane Douglas and Sabu and Terry Funk.
Yes.
What a great match. And it went to an hour draw. I remember watching that match for the first time and thinking at the end of it, like, you know what? You know who won? We won.
We won.
All of us won.
Whoever watched that was the victor.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Every fan who ever watched that show, any fan who ever watched an ECW show was a winner that night.
Yes.
All right, number 9.
Number 9. Number 9 is kind of an interesting one for me because the match itself is a great match, but it's what happens during the match that sparks the entire territory for years.
Oh, okay.
It's Kerry Von Erich challenging Ric Flair in the steel cage, 1982 Christmas Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Where Michael Hayes was voted by the fans as the special referee, and Gordy's out at the door. And that's when Gordy slams the door in Kerry's head. Flair gets the victory. And then we have the Freebirds and Von Erichs for the better part of years, just going after each other.
I always love those where it's like where you pick out this moment and say, the reason I love it is because of everything else this moment created.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a great match, and that's a great way to put that. Yeah.
It sparked the entire territory.
Yeah, they really blew it up that night and just never stopped.
No, they didn't.
My number 9 is a match. I love this match. I mean, obviously, it's in my top 10. But just this, I think when I just say it, everyone's going to understand why. Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, SummerSlam 91.
Can't go wrong with that one.
Yeah. Just an incredible match.
Just an incredible Hart and Perfect put on a clinic. And really, no one knew how much pain Perfect was going through.
No, nobody had any idea.
That's how well he put that match on. Like, no one knew that was going to be his last match for a long time.
Yeah, and it really was. It was the last match until he came back at Survivor Series, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
90,
92.
92. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was over a year later
Yeah.
when he comes back at the team with Macho.
Yeah. Against Razor and Rick.
Flair. Yeah. All right. Number 8.
Number 8. I know you talked about it before. It's my highest TNA Impact match.
Mhm.
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Unbreakable 2005.
Great match. Yeah, obviously huge fan of it.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 8 is Cena CM Punk from Money in the Bank
Very nice.
2011.
Yes.
Love that match. I love the whole story around it too. And I remember at the time thinking, it's probably bullshit.
All right.
Like, I'm just like, dude, clearly he's re signed or they're not going to let him go into this match.
Exactly. But the story, the fact
Yeah.
he was in Chicago, his hometown, the excitement, it was just like the electricity in that building was amazing that night.
And I remember even thinking, well, maybe they'll just have the winner of Money in the Bank come out and cash in.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. You know, it
And
happens next month at SummerSlam.
sure.
Right. But hey, you know what? It was one of those moments that you get lost in the storytelling.
And I love like they negotiated and basically came up with the idea of the contract during the show.
Yeah.
And and like the famous story Vince says to him is, man, you really got me over the barrel here.
Yeah.
And Punk's like, well, I mean, you could always just book me to lose and I could lose.
Right.
If you're the promoter, if you tell me I have to go out there and lose tonight and then go away, then that's what I have to do. But
Exactly. But no.
and he's like, no, you know what? They came to a good middle ground, at least at that point. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like at one point, I remember thinking I was really on Team Punk in the war against WWE. The more I've thought about it, the more I'm on Team McMahon.
Yeah.
And like, oh, he's gonna throw a little hissy fit because he didn't get to main event a WrestleMania. Boo freaking who? You know how many guys have wanted to main event a WrestleMania and never have? It's called all of them, asshole.
Exactly.
Called everybody who ever worked at the company. Like,
Yep.
oh, we works hard. Yeah, everybody works hard.
Everyone.
You play by the rules. You do what you can. And dude, freaking Cody Rhodes had to portray Stardust.
For crying out loud.
Like,
Yep.
and you're gonna like that'd be one of those things where it's like, if I was Vince McMahon or Triple H, I'd be like, yeah, dude, that guy over there, yeah, his dad is one of the all-time greatest to ever do this, and he's fucking Stardust.
Yeah.
Don't bitch to me.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so anyway, that'll be that's a different subject for another day. Number 7.
Number 7. Well, Okada Omega, the trilogy.
There we go.
There it is. As I promised, it would be on the list tonight.
Yeah, and like we said before, it belongs on the list. Those two guys, I don't know that they're capable of having a bad match together.
I really don't think so.
And another two guys that I think are incapable of having a bad match against each other, Sting and Flair from the first Clash of Champions is my number 7.
Very nice.
75 minutes, and just it felt like it was 10 minutes watching it.
It really did. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Just took me on a great ride.
It did. And it's up against WrestleMania 4. I'll never forget the day I was over my friend's house because he had pay-per-view and we're flipping back and forth. And we were just like, this is still on? This is still on? Like going in between. Because obviously you had to watch Mania. That's what you paid for.
Sure, yeah.
And I recorded Clash of the Champions. And luckily I recorded my dad forgot to hit the timer button. So it was I had like an hour of TV beforehand, half hour, the whole show. And then the 6-hour tape ran out, but at least I got,
Okay, so this is number 6, right?
Yes.
All right, my number 6, Sting and Vader from the King of Cable finals at Starrcade 92.
Somehow I knew that was going to be on here.
Yeah, you had to know. Like, this is me. We've talked about it, how much I love Vader, how much I love Sting.
I had a hunch
Yeah.
that was going to be on there.
Yeah.
Yes, the King of Cable. Fantastic match, especially if two of your favorites happen to be those two guys.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Number 5.
I thought it was 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, number 7 was my, yeah. So now number 5 is up next, right?
Wait, I thought I had Okada Omega at 7.
Oh, okay. Well, then what was your 6?
Flair Harley Race at
Okay.
Starrcade 83.
Okay. So I think somehow I got skipped around there
Okay.
when I did Sting and Flair, and then I did the Sting and Vader.
Okay.
Was 6 for me. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what? I'm sorry. What was your 6?
Traditional Flair Race.
Yeah.
Starrcade
Okay. Yeah. Starrcade 83.
Arcade 83.
Yeah.
What really brought Ric Flair into, because his first 2 NWA title reigns were kind of lackluster, and this gave him that chance that everyone wanted, and in Charlotte and in Greensboro. And when you sit and you watch Mid Atlantic TV from 83 and see Flair get injured because Race put the bounty on him, and you see all that build up and just how crazy it was. And this was Dusty's big idea for the big show, and here we go.
Yeah, and it definitely, definitely belonged in that spot. Like, such an awesome match. I know when I decided to go back and watch all of the Starrcades, like, that was one of the first matches I couldn't wait to watch.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. All right, number 5 for you.
Number 5 for me goes to All Japan Pro Wrestling. Their World Tag Leagues. In 1982 and 1984, we were graced with 4 Americans who just brawled in these tag leagues. On one side, you had the established American stars of Dory Funk and Terry Funk against Bruiser Brody and Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Ooh.
Just amazing, the chemistry with those 4 guys, and Stan Hansen and Brody trying to establish themselves as the top American. But the Funks in early 80s Japan, there's nothing like it with all the streamers going on. The fans are going nuts. It's like they're national heroes.
Gotta love it. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had more that you wanted to say on the match. Okay.
No.
My number 5 is Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, the 2-parter from 25 and 26.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Obviously those 2 matches speak for themselves. They were absolute masterpieces. And at the end of Shawn Michaels, the 26, when he slaps the Undertaker and does up until that point, I still believed, man, Shawn's going to win. Shawn's going to break the streak, and he's going to keep going.
And then
when he did that, I was just like, oh, it's over. And you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because, how could you ever top that match?
You really
That's a great final match.
And then he came back for that disaster.
See, I refuse to even acknowledge that ever happened.
I'm okay with not acknowledging that match either.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
All right. Number 4.
You talked about it last week. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 24.
There is not a more emotional moment
in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And if you could just ignore the Ric Flair Impact years and that final match he did last year, you just ignore that.
By the way, it's available on Impact Plus if you want to watch it.
Which one?
The final match thing where he
I can't bring myself to watch it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either. I
I
just saw that it was available, and I was like, yeah, I don't think so.
when they did the Ric Flair documentary recently, Denise actually sat and watched it with me, and she said, "Did you ever?" I said, "I can't bring myself to do it."
Yeah.
After hearing how bad it was and hearing how Rick had a lot of problems, I just can't sit there and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I haven't watched it. I think it's going to be one of those where it's like, hey, I need a good cry. I'm going to
Right.
watch this one.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to stomach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My number 4 is a trilogy of matches spanning 2 WrestleManias and a SummerSlam. I think you'll know where I'm going with this. And that is Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Dudleys, TLC.
I had a hunch that would be high up there.
Yeah.
Yes. Those trilogies were fantastic.
And one of my favorite memories that you hear about this was in their walkthrough when they're talking about what they want to do for different spots. Michael Hayes is talking to I think the Hardys about oh well, I want you to get up here and try the, and he's explaining the spot, and Bruce goes, hey Doc, why don't you show him?
Right.
Why don't you show him what you mean? And of course, everybody starts cracking up because they know, dude, he can't do what he's describing. It's like, and that's where Bruce says, man, if you can't do it yourself, you can't ask somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
If they come to you with the idea, then yeah, let them do it. But don't go and suggest that to them when you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I just love that story. I'm saying, it's a Doc, that move you're describing. What are you talking about? I can't quite. Can you show them? and it was funny because as he's described, all I'm thinking is the Bruce. Edge spot with Jeff Hardy. Right. I'm now picturing Doc trying to show them what he's talking about.
Yeah. And Doc just sitting there just like, oh boy. And Bruce just throwing the gasoline on the fire. Like only he could.
And it's fantastic. I love it. And I love Bruce for doing that.
Yes. I just finally found the Brother Love Legend figure. Recently, yes. Because it finally came out.
Oh, nice. I'm going to have to. So I've decided in my man cave, I'll just talk about this real quick and we'll go right back to the list, I promise. I've decided in my man cave, in my walls, I want to go top row on each wall. I want to just line it with action figures in their boxes.
Yes.
So now I have to acquire said action figures.
Now you have to acquire said figures.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have a whopping 0 in my collection right now.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, that will be something I will attempt to do over the next several years.
Right. Yeah, you got to start thinking who you want to put up on the wall.
Right. And thinking about where I want to position them. I'm thinking I want to have, the Bloodline wall. I want to have, the whole Bloodline together.
Yeah.
And the 4 Horsemen. Yeah.
That'll be a good project for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very expensive project for me.
Very expensive, but very well worth it when it's out.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, number 3.
Flair against Dusty Rhodes, the 2 Starcades, 84-85.
I had a feeling this would be high. Yeah.
Of course it's going to be high. Just 2 of my favorites. The chase back and forth. And then I almost put it on the third match. And everyone remembers when Dusty finally wins it at the Great American Bash.
Yeah. I did enjoy that one too. Yeah.
And you're just like, finally.
Yes.
Yes. And then it wasn't that long of a run because the NWA always thought, and it worked.
They wanted heel champions. Yeah.
The heel champion always worked. The babyface chase is what the fans wanted.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my number 3 is another Ric Flair match, and you called it a few weeks ago when you said this match would be high on my list, and you were right. Flair Vader from Starrcade '93.
Yes. I had a hunch that was going to be up there.
Yeah, and it's number 3 overall. I feel like 1, 2, and 3. I could have made the case for any of them to
Right.
be 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And it's just when I put it together, this was number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay.
just a fantastic match. Flair putting his career on the line
Yes.
for the title in Charlotte. It was just everything a 13-year-old kid wanted to watch at that moment.
Yeah, and I remember watching that with a couple of my neighbors who they were pseudo into they were big time WWF fans. They really
Right.
didn't really watch WCW very much. And when I explained to them everything that was going on in this match, when we watched the whole show, and they were like, "Why? Why are they making this big deal about Flair going to the arena and not?" And it's like, is it because he's facing Vader and Vader might kill him?
Yeah,
And I'm like, well, no, it's because he's got his career on the line.
exactly.
And they're like, well, what does that mean? Then I'm like, yeah, it means if he loses, he's not allowed to wrestle anymore.
Exactly.
They're like, wait, so would he just go back to WWF? I'm like, no, the stipulation's supposed to be you just don't wrestle anymore.
Right.
Now, theoretically, they can't really tell you can't work for the competitor, but
Exactly.
to a 13-year-old kid, it made perfect sense. He had to win, or he was retiring.
Exactly.
All right, number 2.
Number 2. I think you talked about it last week. Bret Hart, British Bulldog, SummerSlam 92.
Nice, yeah, yes, I did, yeah.
I think it's just one of those matches, just the feeling, the hometown boy, and just against his brother-in-law, and then having Diana in the middle between her husband and her brother. Just a great feeling of emotion, I think.
It really was.
Yeah.
That match, I remember really thinking about, so brother-in-laws would face each other. And, again, I look at, my dad had such a good relationship with my Uncle Nick, my stepmother's brother. And, I remember just thinking, yeah, imagine those two fighting. I couldn't imagine it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's what made it even more appealing.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, because with me, my
the uncomfortableness of it. Yeah,
it was like thinking my dad, my Uncle Bill, or my Uncle Tommy. It was just like, would they really get into fights? And then my dad, being an Army vet, he would probably have done some damage if he really needed to. So.
Yeah. My dad was an Air Force vet, so I imagine he could have done some damage. Although my uncle was 9 years younger and could probably, well built, today, well built, and could probably beat my ass.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So this is number 2 now.
Number
I was
2.
able to put my list away because I know 1 and 2.
Okay.
I don't even have to look at it. Number 2 is the Iron Man match, Shawn and Bret Hart from WrestleMania 12.
Very nice.
And all I could think of is knowing now that usually the best matches are between two really good friends.
Yes.
Because they have to be in. Man, if those two had been better friends, could you imagine the kind of matches they could have had?
Oh, man.
To me, it's just a testament to how great they both were, that they couldn't stand each other and they put on that kind of classic.
Right. And see, the thing is, their relationship didn't sour at first.
No, that's true.
When they the Hearts and the Rockers, they were friends, and they both said that in interviews. So just imagine if they could have kept that relationship going, what we could have been spoiled with.
Oh my God! Survivor Series '93, it would have been this generation's Flair and Steamboat.
It would have been.
It probably would have made, to you and I, who grew up with it, we wouldn't have forgotten Flair and Steamboat. But to a lesser generation, they would have been like, oh, well, Flair, Steamboat, whatever. It's all about Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Exactly. But we didn't get that.
No. And it's funny because I think that, Flair and Steamboat, and Sean and Brett, like those guys, the way that they were able to work together, like and Flair and Dusty,
Yep.
Sting and Vader, like those guys all like they were able to work together because of their closeness in the relationship. And Brett and Sean, like you said, they had it at the moment. It wouldn't stay that way, and I think it was maybe just a lack of communication between the two.
And there were some sunny days involved.
Mm.
Between
Well, and it's funny because I've heard Bruce Pritchard talk about how like they had this great come to Jesus moment together, the two of them, like right when Brett first came back,
Yep.
and right after, I guess after WrestleMania 13, when they were cutting a lot of promos with each other because Shawn was still hurt and Brett was dealing with the knee injury.
Yeah.
And so the two of them are like they kind of had this great come to Jesus moment, and where it was like, hey man, like this is all just a work. Like we can work together. Like we can work like whatever's going on between us, we can figure this out. Like let's work together. Like, and it was supposedly like this great creative meeting between the two, where it seemed like they had gone and patched things up.
Yeah.
And then that Monday on Raw, Brett misses his cue for Shawn Michaels to give him the super kick on air, and so Shawn kicks him, but the cameras don't see it.
Yeah.
Or the live crowd in the arena saw it, but the people at home watching didn't see it
Didn't say it.
until
Yeah.
that weekend when they were able to show it on live wire. And Bruce Pritchard's trying to explain, like everybody's trying to get in the queue, like, hey guys, we're out of here in 5 seconds, we're out of here in 20 seconds. Guys, 10 seconds.
Right.
Get in position, 5 seconds, and like they didn't have like the leeway that they had with USA in later years.
Right.
So man, like that match, like it could have been just the first of many, but sadly, just one more match between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it was cut short in Montreal, and we all know what happened.
Exactly.
All right, we've reached that time. Number one.
Hit the pinnacle. Number one. Stevie Wonder could see this coming, I think. Flair Steamboat, the 89 trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much a blind man saw that coming on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray Charles saw that coming. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. It's one of those things. It doesn't get any better to me.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that one. Like watching the two of them work, it was just
magic.
Yeah, it was magic.
Yeah.
And my number one, I feel like when the two of them got together, it was absolutely magic. And in particularly, one warm night in Pittsburgh, and Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
I mean, the match was originally supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be Mick versus Steve Austin in the trilogy. They were going to go 3 straight pay-per-views.
Right.
And their third was going to be in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And, Vince and Bruce are talking and they say, hey, you know what? I don't think that match really, like, I don't think they should do that right now. Like, it'd be hard to come back with 3 straight pay-per-views for the two of them.
It would be.
And so Bruce goes to Mick and says, Mick, I'm sorry, we're not going to do you and Steve for the third time at Pittsburgh.
Right.
And Mick goes, oh, does that mean I'm out of the cell? Oh, no, you're still going to be in the cell. You're going to work with Undertaker.
Right.
And he's like, we have no heat.
Right.
Like, what do we have? And like he's thinking, like, how the hell do we do this?
And boy, did they make that night.
Yeah, like I think they made up for it.
I think so.
The whole match, the throw off the cell, like
then the choke.
So when Nick's pitching this whole idea to Vince, he's saying, he's like, look, man, he's like, trust me, it's just a higher bump. I'm used to taking bumps off the apron. Like I've taken 1 million of them. It'll be fine. And Vince is like, yeah, but that's really high, Mick. And it's like, look, man, like I know exactly where I'll land. I'll push my blood. It really, like, I won't feel a thing. I'll be fine. And he's like, yeah, but that's really high, Mick.
Yeah. And then when he falls through the cage.
That one was scarier, and that one got more of the reaction from the guys in the back.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's supposed to be a breakaway top of the cell. Like, it was
Right.
supposed to be part of 3 choke slams. And on
Yeah.
the third one, because it's supposed to give a little each time.
A little each time.
And
when
so, like, he would be coming down, but the top of the cage would kind of break his fall. And so
Right.
when he does come down, he would be okay because it would have kind of slowed his fall.
Yes.
Well, then when he does it on the first, and the thing just snaps, and it's like, you could kind of see the look on Undertaker's face, like, oh shit, like that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right. And he just looked like, oh my. Terry Funk runs in the ring like,
Yeah.
is he still alive at that
Yeah,
point?
and it's funny because again, like basically Mick says to Terry Funk, he's like, I'll be okay. You just got to give me a minute.
Right.
Give you a minute, bro. You just got thrown off the top of the cell. You climb back off and get thrown through the cell.
Right.
You need more than a minute. And Terry's like, what the fuck do I do? And he
Right.
looks over at Undertaker and just goes, choke slam me.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? Just choke slam me.
Just give Mick a couple minutes.
He's like, we got to give Mick a minute. Just choke slam me. He's like,
Yeah.
all right. Well, in the shot, you see Terry Funk, his shoes come off. He got choke slammed out of his shoes.
Yes.
Well, because he kind of just threw his shoes on to run out there. He didn't have his shoes on to begin with, but he just kind of threw them on there, didn't tie him. Comes running out there like, Mick, are you okay? Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
What's going on here? And boom.
Yeah. And then he gets choke slammed out of his shoes. And Mick looks over at some point and sees the shoes sitting there and just goes, oh, wow. Did I get choke slammed out of my shoe? Did I wear shoes to the ring?
Right, yeah. And he didn't know where he was at that point.
Well, and a scary story, and especially now that we know more about CTE,
right,
is after the match, of course, they have their kick-ass match afterwards,
right,
which was incredible. And after the match, as they're in the back, first off, when they're in the ring, with like they're going to bring out the stretcher, and Mick has to ask them, hey, have I been on a stretcher tonight? Yeah, Mick, you've been on a stretcher. Well, then I don't want to go out on a stretcher. I've already been on a stretcher tonight. They've already seen that. Let me get up and walk out.
Exactly.
What the hell? And then in the back, he's talking. The first thing he says to Bruce Pritchard, when Bruce looks at him, goes like, "Oh my god, dude, I'll never see anything better than that."
No.
And Mick says, "I'm sorry, I missed the thumbtack spot. I didn't do the thumbtacks." And he's like, "I'm really sorry. Was the match still good?"
Yeah.
And Bruce looks at him and goes, "You did the thumbtacks, Mick. You got it in. Like,
yeah, you got everything.
Somebody concussion test now."
Yeah.
Just the unbelievable match. And I remember like watching it live when he gets thrown off the top. To me, there's no better call in any sport than, good God, they killed him. God is my witness. He's broken in half.
Jim Ross really sold that match.
Oh, God, he sold the hell out of that.
He did.
And when he's like, guys, come out here. I'm serious.
Yeah, it was just like, they need help.
I remember just thinking, I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. And his call at the end of the match was even better when he goes, these two men gave you of their souls.
Yep.
And that's one of those where it's like, again, I know this is a work, but man, he's speaking the truth there.
He is.
So, wow, that will conclude our list. I guess I'm gonna have to come up with a new last line on the lead-ins to the show because I've just been saying we continue our list.
Right? Yeah, we're gonna have to think either of another list or B a new lead-in.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to come up with something else there, or we can work on a new list. Maybe we'll do both. I'll do a new lead-in for next week, and we'll talk about what we could do for another list for everybody. Hope everybody's enjoyed this as much as we have.
I think people are enjoying this.
I hope so.
I hope so. The Peanut Gallery just laughed in the back.
Well, good. I appreciate their. I will take their laughs as appreciation for our list.
Exactly. It was hard work and effort.
Yes, but a lot of fun, and I am going to enjoy going back and rewatching a number of these matches, including some of the matches on your list that I haven't watched in a long time,
Yes.
or some of them ever.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go back and watch because I feel like our tastes are pretty similar.
I think
Like,
so.
if you appreciate a match, then I know I will.
Yes.
So I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of those lists. In fact, I think we should each work on exchanging the list to each other, and then I could post both lists on our page on Facebook for everybody.
Yeah.
And,
do you need it in Word or like Google Docs?
Google Docs would actually be great. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll
But
work on
at your earliest convenience, no rush.
Yep.
Everybody, join us next week for the review of SummerSlam, and I guess we'll figure out what our new list is going to be.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Mike, have a great night. I'm going to go eat now.
All righty.
All right. Happy wrestling.